The Taoist secret to effortless success. At first, those words sound impossible, because everything you've been taught says success belongs to those who push harder, work longer, and never stop fighting. But Taoism tells a completely different story. More than 2,000 years ago, its philosophers discovered a truth that still feels radical today. The greatest success is not created by forcing life. It is created by moving with it. If that's true, then one question changes everything. Why do the people who struggle the hardest so often feel the furthest from the life they're trying to build? Maybe the obstacle has never been a lack of effort. Maybe it's the way we've learned to use it. Every morning begins the same. Your eyes open, but your mind is already racing. Emails, deadlines, bills, expectations. Someone else's definition of success. Before your feet even touch the floor, you're already carrying the weight of tomorrow. You tell yourself, just keep going. One more promotion, one more achievement, one more goal. Then everything will finally make sense. But it never does. The finish line keeps moving, and the harder you chase it, the further away peace seems to become. Modern life celebrates constant motion. We admire people who never rest. We praise endless productivity. We wear exhaustion like a medal. Somewhere along the way, being busy became more important than being alive. Look around. Never have we had more technology, yet less attention. More ways to connect, yet deeper loneliness. More opportunities, yet greater anxiety. That's not an accident. It's the cost of believing that life can be conquered through force alone. Thousands of years ago, while kingdoms fought for power, an old Taoist sage sat quietly beside a river. He watched the water. It never hurried. It never complained. It never fought the rocks standing in its way. Yet year after year, it shaped entire mountains. The river possessed a kind of strength that looked almost invisible, not because it was weak, but because it never wasted energy resisting what it could understand instead. That quiet observation became one of Taoism's deepest ideas. A principle called Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action. But don't mistake those words for doing nothing. Wu Wei is not laziness. It is not giving up. It is not waiting for life to solve your problems. It is something far more demanding. It is the discipline of letting go of unnecessary struggle. Because there is a difference between effort and resistance. And once you truly understand that difference, you'll begin to see something unsettling. Much of the modern world teaches you to resist life, when life has been inviting you to flow with it all along. The strange thing about resistance is that it rarely feels like resistance in the beginning. It feels like control. It feels like safety. It feels like you are doing exactly what you are supposed to do. Push harder. Think more. Force outcomes. Never let go. But Taoism asks a quiet question beneath all of that noise. What if control is the illusion that keeps you stuck? Think about a time you wanted something deeply. A job, a relationship, a version of yourself you could finally respect. At first, your effort feels clean, focused, even hopeful. But slowly, something shifts. You begin to grip tighter. You replay conversations in your mind. You imagine every possible outcome. You try to predict everything, so nothing can go wrong. And without noticing it, you are no longer moving toward life. You are fighting it. This is where Taoism becomes uncomfortable. It suggests that suffering is not always created by failure, but by friction between you and reality itself. The more you insist life must obey your timing, your expectations, your plan, the more fragile everything begins to feel. Even success stops feeling like success, because you are too tense to experience it. This is where Wu Wei becomes something deeper than philosophy. It becomes psychological insight. The skilled archer does not force the arrow. The surfer does not argue with the wave. The musician does not chase every note. They prepare, they train, they refine their skill over time. But in the moment of action, they release control, not because they stopped caring, but because caring too tightly destroys natural flow. Now look at modern life, a world built on constant comparison. Every scroll shows someone doing more, achieving more, becoming more. And quietly, it creates a question inside you. Why am I not there yet? Why am I behind? Why does it look so effortless for everyone else? That question is powerful. But it is also dangerous, because it turns life into a performance you are always failing. And when life becomes performance, presence disappears. This is the hidden cost Taoism points to. Not that ambition is wrong, but that forcing ambition without awareness creates internal collapse. You begin to live in a constant state of not enough. Not enough progress. Not enough discipline. Not enough success. Not enough time. And in that mental state, even good moments cannot land fully. You are already chasing the next one. This is why the Taoist idea of flow is not mystical. It is practical. It is about reducing internal friction. Not eliminating effort, but removing unnecessary struggle from effort, so that action becomes clear again, natural again, aligned again, like water finding its path without needing permission from the stone. At some point, something subtle begins to change, not in the world around you, but in the way you meet it. You start to notice how often you interfere with your own life, not because you are careless, but because you are afraid. Afraid of delay, afraid of uncertainty, afraid that if you stop forcing things, everything will fall apart. But Taoism suggests the opposite is often true. It is not letting go that creates chaos. It is over-controlling what was never meant to be controlled. Think again about the river. Its power does not come from aggression. It comes from consistency. It does not try to win against the landscape. It becomes part of it, over time. This is where Wu Wei reaches its deepest meaning. Effortless success is not the absence of action. It is action without inner conflict. You still show up. You still work. You still build. But something inside you stops tightening around outcomes. You begin to act, without constantly trying to force life to obey your expectations. And slowly, the psychological weight begins to shift. You are no longer living in a permanent state of tension. You are participating in life, instead of wrestling it. Modern culture rarely teaches this. It teaches acceleration, optimization, hustle, more speed, more output, more control. But it rarely asks the deeper question. At what cost? Because a life built only on force eventually reaches a breaking point. Not always externally, but internally. In exhaustion that rest does not fix. In success, that does not feel like arrival. In achievement that still feels strangely empty. Taoism does not reject ambition. It redefines your relationship with it. It asks you to notice when effort turns into strain, when discipline turns into self-punishment, when direction turns into pressure. And in that awareness, something softens. Not your goals, but your grip on them. And in that space, something unexpected appears. Clarity. Not forced clarity. Natural clarity. The kind that does not need to be chased. Only noticed. So maybe the secret was never about doing less. Maybe it was about resisting less. So life can finally move the way it was always meant to move through you. Not against you, but with you. And in that shift, success stops feeling like something you hunt and starts becoming something you allow. If you found this reflection meaningful, consider subscribing. Not to consume more information, but to continue exploring ideas that help you see life a little more clearly than before.